In Chapter 12, we're going to talk about bringing youths into the community policing. You know, a relatively small percentage of youth engage in criminal behavior, but many of them become victims of crime. If community policing is to succeed, it's imperative that the important youth segment of the community not be forgotten about. If our young people can come to feel a part of their community and their school in an early on process, many future problems might be eliminated. But unfortunately, the violence is so prevalent within our society and has found its way into our schools, as school shootings in the past few years have dramatically increased. In addition, some youths turn to gangs for support and feeling of self-worth that they cannot find at home or in school, as we have discussed already. So we have to get the youth involved in order to make a difference. You know, leaving young people out of the model of community policing has tremendous implications. Public safety turns to a great extent on what the young people do and what is done to them. So this is the group that's most likely to engage in criminal conduct, to be victims of crime, and to be targeted by the police. So rather than leaving these young people out of the community policing effects, youth should be placed alongside other community members and officers in trusting and engendering deliberations regarding the matters of public safety and community safety. So it is possible to build on existing community policing models to develop an approach that would, for the first time in modern policing, fundamentally alter the relationship between the police and the young people. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to build a better relationship between the young people and law enforcement, because this will go a long ways in our community as far as in crime and everything else. Let's talk about building positive relationships. As far as fostering partner relationships, there are many different programs out there. Departments across the country have developed programs to allow our youngsters and the police officers to get to know and understand each other better, and a lot of times that's what it is. They don't know or understand one another. The Cops and Kids program, endorsed by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, brings kids and the officers together to have a fun time rather than delivering an anti-drug or anti-crime message. Officers come with their motorcycles and their K9s for demonstrations. They share lunch. They form running clubs. They do whatever helps to present the police as a positive role model, and this also builds trust with the children. Let's talk about the developmental asset approach. This developmental asset approach promotes support, empowerment, boundaries and expectations, constructive use of time, commitment to learning, positive values, social competence, as well as positive identity to help these youngsters succeed in school as well as in life. And this is what we want to promote to keep them on the right track. Let's talk about some of the federal initiatives out there, because clearly the news is not all bad regarding our nation's youth. However, areas of concern do exist, and several federal initiatives have been directed at protecting our young people. Federal initiatives to protect our nation's youth include passage of the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act, America's Promise Alliance, Project Safe Childhood, and Safe Start Initiative. All of these help in reducing violence and the impact of violence on our young children and their families, of parental involvement, because this is the cornerstone of the community. You know, in many American families, the traditional bonds of discipline and respect between parent and child have loosened considerably, if not unraveled completely. If the integration process between parents and children is deficient, then the children they may fail to learn appropriate behaviors. All you have to do is ask a guidance counselor or a teacher or a law enforcement officer the greatest problems they face when it comes to juvenile crime. They will always tell you unanimously that the answer is parents. Parents play a very important role on how these children are going to act in the long run. About the importance of school. Schools play an important role in the lives of children and in their social development. The Child Development Project is a comprehensive whole school involvement program that's designed by the Developmental Studies Center in Oakland, California. This project fosters children's cognitive, ethical, and social growth by providing all students with engaging, challenging learning opportunities and creating a strong sense of community among the children, among the parents, and among the teachers. Let's talk about crime and violence in schools. Bullying in particular, name calling, fist fights, purposeful ostracizing children, repeated physical attacks, and sexual harassment. This has been a common behavior in schools since they first opened their doors. Its occurrence is often taken lightly with the belief that kids are going to be kids. But we have to take a strong stand against this, because if not, it's going to continue and it's going to cause many other problems down the road. Let's talk about after-school programs. Dangerous peak hours. For many students, the closing of the bell at the end of the day does not necessarily mean that it's time for them to go home. For some of these youths, the hours after school presents the most dangerous time of the day. After-school programs have often touted as one means to keep youths out of trouble and to help them succeed in school. Data has consistently shown that on school days, juvenile crime and delinquency peaks in the hours immediately after school, when the youths are more likely to be unsupervised. Research also links after-school programs to increased school day attendance and improved graduation rates. So if they're in school, 9 times out of 10 they're not getting in trouble, and the graduation rates go up at the same time. But most of the time, right after the school hours is when crime starts to increase among our young people. So this is a very dangerous peak time for our young. Let's talk about creating safe schools. Clear policy should be established for tardiness, absenteeism, class cutting, physical conflicts among students, student tobacco use, verbal abuse of teachers, drug use, vandalism to school, alcohol use, robbery or theft, gangs, racial tension, possession of weapons, physical abuse of teachers, and the sale of drugs on school grounds. Many schools have adopted zero tolerance policies towards possession of guns and drugs or alcohol in schools. That is, no matter what the underlying circumstances are, a student bringing a weapon or drugs or alcohol to school will be suspended or expelled. Let's talk about hope for the future. Despite the lack of progress in some areas, the hope is not as bleak as some would paint it. Law enforcement agencies, particularly those embracing community policing, are part of the entire justice system, the entire juvenile justice system, and that system appears to be changing. In introducing the future of American children, Steinberg stated, American juvenile justice policy is in a period of transition. State legislatures across the country have reconsidered punitive statutes that enacted with enthusiasm not so many years ago. So what we may be seeing now is the pendulum that has reached its apex, and it's slowly beginning to swing back towards the moderate policies, in other words, as politicians and the public come to regret the high economic costs and inefficiencies of punitive reforms and the harshness of the sanctions. So they're starting to lighten up, and things are looking a lot better for our juvenile justice system. In summary, children and teenagers are often overlooked in a community policing type of a philosophy. So we have to include these groups if we want to make a difference. To counteract negative perceptions, many departments have programs to foster positive relationships between the law enforcement and the community and our young people. The family should be included in community policing efforts focused on our youths. Also, schools should be viewed as a community and not as institutions.